Hey friend, welcome to the Halfway to Dead podcast. I'm your host, Jen Lovell. Listen, you and I have reached that age where we are done with the bullshit. We know that midlife is our chance to flip the script and experience life on our own terms. It's time to reconnect with our higher selves and reclaim our inner peace. Are you ready with an open heart and an open mind? Awesome, you're in the right place. Hop in and ride shotgun with me on this midlife spiritual journey. Hey, everybody. Thanks for coming back. Thank you. You know, I'm always thanking you because I really appreciate you guys. So I'm excited today because I got to interview Debbie Weiss. So Debbie has been featured on the Kelly Clarkson Show. We love Kelly. And so with over 50 years of experience dealing with some of life's toughest challenges, Debbie is basically an expert in chasing your own dreams in spite of your circumstances. So she's the best-selling author of the memoir On Second Thought, Maybe I Can, as well as the co-author in the Amazon best-selling collaborative book, Heart Whispers. Okay, so she also has her own podcast called Maybe I Can, so check that out. And listen, basically she's overcome her own limiting beliefs and fears and has allowed her to begin living her best life. And her life's passion now is to help and inspire others to do the same. So the exciting news is her second follow-up book to her memoir has been published this week. So you got to check it out. It's called The Sprinkle Effect, A Guide to Living a More Colorful and Fulfilling Life. That sounds amazing, right, everybody? Okay, so in this episode, we go over both of her books. We hear her story, and then we go over the new book that's published this week because I got a sneak peek at it. And so we were able to really talk about really things that we can implement in our lives so that we can thrive in midlife too, because she had a changing point. We talk about it in the interview on her 50th birthday, and it kind of changed everything for her. And so we talk about her struggles and how she overcame a lot of them. And listen, you guys are going to relate to a lot of her stuff because it's a lot of it we're all dealing with. So I'm excited. I'm excited for you guys to get all these insights and hear all about everything she's done to better her life. And I'm hoping we can all learn from her and utilize it in our life because we all want to thrive. Am I right? Okay, let's jump in and just learn everything Debbie has to share with us today. Hey, Debbie, thanks for being with me today. This is exciting.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Jen.
Okay, so I've already told all you guys all the things Debbie's done and authored, but I want to just jump in right away and start with kind of your story, which is your first book that we talked about. I mean, kind of goes over your story. So things that jumped out that paralleled for me, and I think a lot of midlife women, was one, you struggled with weight your whole life. And I think I'm in that boat. I know a lot of people listening are in that boat with us. And especially in midlife, because it starts to kind of pack on in the middle and you're like, what do I do? Yeah. So you've been through that whole journey. And then you've had a lifetime, also in the book, you talk about a lifetime of caregiving. I don't know if you want to speak a little bit to those different situations. 'Cause 3 jump out of my mind, 3 main caregiver situations. So tell us about that, about your lifetime of caregiving. Because I feel like when we get to midlife, we've all kind of done a lot of caregiving one way or another.
Absolutely. And the weight thing, yeah, that is the underlying theme of my entire life. So I'm kind of glad that you mentioned it because I feel like I don't talk about it a lot, but it's like who I am. You know what I mean? Like it's ruled my life and it still continues to rule my life. Like it has ruled my life. It's now rules in a much better way for the first time. But yeah. So as far as the caregiving is concerned, I became a family caregiver when I was 17, when my father was only 46, had a massive stroke and survived and lived for 30 years. And my parents soon got divorced and I have one younger brother. So it was me and I became his caregiver for the next 30 years. He didn't live with me, but I was his person. You know, I had to do everything for him.
Yeah. Oh, it doesn't matter whether he lives here or not. You were doing all the things.
All the things. And, you know, in your 20s, it's not what you expect. Like in our 40s and 50s, kind of, we expect that with our parents, but not in your 20s.
Yeah.
And then I went on when my oldest son was 2, he was diagnosed on the autism spectrum. So as parents, we're caregivers, right? I mean, our life is about our kids. And I have a younger son, but the one who has the special needs, caregiving just takes on a whole different face and a whole
Yeah.
different level of parenting.
That's a lifetime commitment.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. He's 23 now, so I'm still in it. And then unfortunately, my husband had a variety of both physical and mental illnesses.
Hmm.
And he became disabled and stopped working, I don't know, maybe around 2019. And then out of the blue in 2022, in June of 2022, he was diagnosed with a terminal blood cancer unrelated to any of his other issues. And I basically stopped working and took care of him for the next 6 months. And unfortunately, he lost his battle December 30th, 2022. So we're coming up on 2 years. I can't believe it. And, that's really been my life. It's been about everybody else and taking care of everybody else. And not that I would change that, but I would change how I approached it.
Yes. So she outlines all this in her first book, you guys. And we literally just went over the tip of the iceberg. There's so much to each of, even those caregiving stories, there's so much to each story, because you had to take care of your dad. And there was a little bit of a rocky path before you even got to that stage with your dad. Yeah. And so that makes it hard to caregive too. So you've got, just like a lot of us, some parental issues we're working through, from back in the day. And then you struggle with infertility. So we talked about how your second son's autism, that's caregiving, but you struggle with infertility, suffered loss through all of that. And so came back on the other side with these beautiful boys. Okay. And then you said your husband, he struggled and didn't work. And you guys were kind of work partners, right?
Yeah. We worked together for 20 plus years.
Yeah. So not only did you have to start caregiving for him, but all of a sudden you were in charge of the bills and everything else too. Right?
Well, I was always in charge of the bills.
Okay, yeah.
That was always my responsibility. But
you didn't have like a team member contributing anymore.
He wasn't contributing. Well, I have an insurance agency.
Yeah.
And he and I started together. And so, we kind of had different roles. And one day he just walked out and said, I can never come back, and left me with piles of papers. I couldn't even bring things home and say, what'd you do with this? Who do I call?
Yeah.
He just left and would never discuss it again. So he left me, I thought he was going to come home and then start to take more of the responsibilities back at home. And he wasn't able to do either. And so he kind of left me in a mess at work.
And now caregiving for him, because he struggled with some pretty severe mental health issues.
Yep.
Yeah. And so that's almost one of the hardest things to caregive through. Would you say of all of your caregiving, does that feel like the hardest?
For sure. There is no question. My son was also diagnosed with a bunch of mental illnesses as he got into his teens. And we have been through hell and back with both. And in the 6 months that my husband lived from the time he was diagnosed, honestly, his mental illness struggles were by far the toughest. And it's, unless you go through it with somebody, you just have no idea. It's horrific. And the system that is supposed to be there to help is broken.
For sure. Yeah. So you end up holding the bag. Like, what do I do? Yeah. You had to just struggle through it. And then he ended up getting physical illnesses on top of that. Yeah. So and there's lots more in the book, you guys. So don't, there's more. And I love the way that your first book is written, because it's a memoir. And so it really takes us through, but it's written in a way that we can all just identify with, I think. You know what I mean? It's not too, it's an easy read. You feel like you're in it with you, some of the points. So I really like it. Okay. So she had that first book, you guys, and then she has a follow-up book that just came out. So you guys got to check this out. This new one, and it kind of stems off of your life story. So you read the first book, you guys, and you learn all about her life story and what she's been through. And we'll talk more about when you started making changes. And then you have the second book, The Sprinkle Effect. And this is a guide to living a more colorful and fulfilling life. Okay. So we're going to talk about both. We're going to talk about whatever you want to, Debbie, but I found it so interesting. So I want to go into all of it. So in your book, first book, you outline, you hit your first 50th birthday. That felt like a changing point in the book for me. Like your 50th birthday, because you love birthdays. And by the way, as we record this, you're in your birthday week. This is your birthday week. Tomorrow, as we record this, Yay! You guys. So she loves her birthday. She's a birthday girl. I know there's people out there like, oh, I hate to even think about my birthday. And I don't mind my birthday either.
I don't care how old I am. I'll just scream it from the rooftops. That does not bother me at all. It's like our day to celebrate us.
Yes. I love it. Okay. And we got to live another year. There's nothing to be sad about.
That's right.
You're either live another year or you're dead. Like two options, everybody. So
that's it.
just take the option of living another year, right? Okay. So tell us about that moment. Kind of take us to when you had turned 50. All of this was going on because at the time you were still caregiving for your husband, your child, everything. Was your dad still there? No,
my dad had passed away about a year and a half before I turned 50.
Okay.
But, my kids were like in those preteen stages and they were, busy with activities, especially my younger one was in a lot of sports and all of that. And Gary, my husband, look, just like I think most women, right? I was like the air traffic controller. Every morning it's like, here's what you're doing. Here's what you're doing. Here's your things,
there's
right?
no sleeping in. Nope.
Right. Exactly. Like it was like they couldn't think without me. I had to point them in the right direction and just push them off. So how was I going to leave? My friends wanted to take me away for my 50th birthday because I love my birthday. 50 obviously is
it's a big one.
Big milestone. And, I had been going through hell basically, or that's what it felt like for the majority of my life. And they wanted to give me a break. And I wanted to go, but I was afraid to leave my family.
Yeah.
But they convinced me. And oh my goodness, still now, 11 years later, it was the most fun that I've ever had because for the first time in my adult life, it was just me and not in a selfish way. Just someone asked me what I wanted to do. And I'm almost like looking over my shoulder.
Like, are you talking to me? I don't get to pick what I do. Yeah,
exactly. And the laughing and just the freedom. It was just the best weekend ever. And in that weekend, we had some heavier conversations. And there was one conversation about like, what's your dream life? What's your goal? And I thought to myself, dream life? I just want to make it through every day.
Yeah, you didn't have a chance to think about dreams.
Yeah. And it kind of just hit me in that whole time period of turning 50. Like, wow, my life is probably more than half over. And if I keep going this way, because we all see how it seems to speed up. The years and months and everything flies by. In a second, I'm going to be to the end of my life. I'm going to be looking back and saying, I shoulda, coulda, woulda. And I didn't have anything specific that I wanted to do. I never in my life wanted to write a book. So I didn't want to be an artist. I had nothing. I didn't know what that something was. And I got scared. Wow. And I also realized no fairy godmother is coming down to save me, right? If I want something to change, I am the one who has to do it. And it was that moment or that period of my life, the whole 50 thing, that kind of just started me thinking a little bit differently.
Yeah. Okay. So did you make changes right after you got back from that trip, or did that mull over for a while?
It mulled over for a while. The first thing that I needed to change was my weight, because at that point I was about 100 pounds overweight and it was daunting. And I, rode the diet roller coaster since I was 10 years old, I think is the first time I ever went to Weight Watchers.
Yeah, you were on and off the Weight Watchers roller coaster off and on throughout your whole life. I mean, like
Yep.
you attended your first Weight Watcher meeting when you were how old?
10.
Yep. Mom and dad had you at Weight Watchers at 10. And even as a child, you talk about like you were always the kid. Everyone was joking around. You know, you don't know a life where people weren't talking about your weight. Basically, it felt like in the book. Yeah.
It was constant. It was and I lived in a skinny family. Like my parents and my brother were skinny. Like I felt like I was a misfit in this group. And, you know, it was weird because like my aunt, my cousins, they all struggled with weight. My uncle on the other side struggled with weight. It was like everyone, my grandparents, my grandmother struggled with weight, but my parents and my brother didn't. They couldn't relate to me.
No, they didn't get it.
They didn't get it. And my mother would hide food in the
Yes,
house.
I read that. She would find places to hide the food from you, thinking she was helping you, but you were just finding it anyway. I mean, that's what
finding it anyway. And then I'd eat the whole darn thing because I'm like, when am I ever going to get this again? Because it's forbidden and it's hidden.
No, because you're like extra stressed out already. So, so that was a whole journey your whole life. So the first thing you decided was, I'm going to get healthier. I'm going to lose some weight.
I'm going to get healthier because, you know, when you're middle-aged, now it's not just, sure, we want to look good, right? But now it's about, well, heck, it turns to be about your health. I want to be here for my kids. I want to hopefully one day, you know, be here for my grandchildren. So you want to live a long life. And I think there's that shift as, I want to look better for sure. Yeah. But there's more to it at that point. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I wasn't feeling it. Like I knew that this is what I needed to tackle first. But you know how sometimes you're just not motivated?
Yeah. Oh, I know. Like every day, right? I know.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm like, oh gosh, again. So what I decided was that, and I've tried many other diets besides Weight Watchers, but for me, Weight Watchers worked the best. And so I decided instead, I'm going to go back to Weight Watchers, but I'm not going to care if I lose weight. I'm not going to care about what I eat. I'm not going to care about my exercise, my points, none of that. My goal was to attend a Weight Watchers meeting every week.
Yep. Just small steps.
That's it.
Yep.
That's it. And I also stopped thinking like in the past, and I'm sure everybody can relate, it'd be like, oh my gosh, I have to lose 25 pounds in 3 months or by the summer or by this wedding, right? Or, you know, whatever it is.
Whatever goal we set. Mm-hmm. Yep.
I had to let that go because it's too much pressure. And then I would get to that point and let's say I only lost 15 pounds. And it's like, oh, this is not working.
And you quit.
I might as well go back to what I was doing before and be happy.
Mm-hmm. But were you happy? You're thinking, but was I happy?
Yeah. Well, exactly. So I started to change my mindset about it. And I also realized that, you know, it can't be a diet. It has to be a lifestyle. And my kids made fun of me because I would be eating something and they'd be like, is that on your lifestyle? And I said, yes, it is on my lifestyle because what I learned is, I'm not going to give up ice cream and pizza and bagels, my favorite foods. Yeah. I'm just going to eat them differently and be more present and make better decisions. But it doesn't mean that I can never have it again. And so it started with small steps. And once I got down the going to the meetings, then I added, okay, 50% of the time I'll track my food, you know, whatever it was. I just started adding small steps. And, you know, I felt good when I was successful at attending a meeting every week or when it was like, okay, I did it. I set this small goal. You feel good. Bring me the next goal. Mm-hmm. And it took me probably about 3 years to lose 90 pounds. And that
sounds like you took it off like slowly where it could stay off.
Exactly. Yeah. Very, very slowly. Like I was a turtle. It was like, are you kidding me? But I kept with it because if this is a lifestyle, not a diet, well, I have the rest of my life. I'm just going to continue on this path. And whatever happens with the number on the scale, you know? And so it took about 3 years. I lost 90 pounds. And since that time, I have been keeping it off. I've gone almost 15 pounds up and have caught myself. And I've never been able to do that before. And so let's just say that was probably about 7 or 8 years ago. So that's a long time. That's a first in my life.
Yeah, because you finally you did blend it into your lifestyle instead of just like, yeah, because I think a lot of us do these crazy. I've done every diet in the book too. And I think we do, I mean, the craziest stuff I have done. Anyway, like back in the 80s, every fad diet that came, I was on it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was on it. And so I feel like you can't sustain that though. Right. No. Like if you're doing a liquid diet, you do like whatever, like you can't sustain that.
Oh my gosh. I did OptiFast, the liquid diet when it first came out. I was in my early 20s. I even now I couldn't even drink. Now I can't even drink a shake because it reminds me a real shake because it reminds me of the
OptiFast days. Oh God, yes.
It was disgusting. But I lost like 50 pounds. I lost 50 pounds in 3 months. And the minute I got off of it, I think I gained 20 or 25 back in 1 month.
You end up worse off. No.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I think one time, what's the wacky? I mean, like, because like the South Beach diet was just coming out and like all these things that, we're going to be the next. This was the real thing to lose weight, guys, not the last thing. I even ordered this HCG serum online. This was back in like, oh God, I don't know. But it came in a puzzle box from like China. I don't even know. And I got it and I was like, but I was so desperate. Like I used it. Like who uses something that came in a weird box from a weird country, but it promised to lose a lot of weight? And because it was supposed to trick your body. What was it doing? Supposed to trick your body into thinking it was like pregnant or something. So it would eat double, but you'd eat the same. It was stupid. It didn't work. I mean, I did lose a bunch of weight, like kind of quick, but like you said, it's right back. And it's like, okay, what was I even thinking? God.
Because we were all looking for the magic answer that makes it
there's
easy.
Gotta be a pill, right? There's gotta be something. Yeah. No. Oh God. Okay. So you took some time. Did your kids struggle at all or not really?
With their weight?
Yeah.
One son does, one son doesn't.
Okay.
The older son who struggles with mental illness. And my husband also was overweight.
Yeah. Because it could be like I am an emotional eater. And so as the mood changes, as your mood changes, your eating habits change. And that's a hard one to break because I'm still working on that. But no, that's a tough one. Okay. So you got all of this in order, which good, like it's even a bigger accomplishment to think of how much weight you were losing with everything still going on in your life, with all the caregiving you were doing and taking care of everybody else. It's extra hard to lose weight then. So you did it. So that's amazing.
I did it.
Yes.
I did it. I have to say, I have to give credit to my husband because my husband was the one, I don't cook.
Okay.
I don't know how to cook. Luckily, that's probably why we got together. That's how he cooks. He was sent to me. He loved to food shop and he loved to cook and he was really good at it. Oh, and that was like his passion. He actually thought about becoming a professional chef. That was his passion.
Oh, that worked out. Yeah.
So he was a huge help because at the time that I was losing weight, he was still functioning. And he would make me these Weight Watchers recipes like in bulk. And then he would portion them out for me.
Oh, he did food prep for you.
He did it all. So really when he went down, I was like, I was more worried about my food.
You're like, who's going to feed me though? Yeah. God. So then you probably just had to go back to making good decisions with takeout or, whatever.
Well, frozen dinners. And that's kind of where I am now. I hate to say it.
You just probably do you just order where you have your meals kind of portioned out from a company or something? Or
no, I've tried that. Sometimes I do that. No, really. I have like frozen dinners, different ones from Trader Joe's and
just Weight Watchers
and, every once in a while.
Do you still feel yourself counting points? Or not really anymore?
I don't count points anymore.
No points. No, you just, because you're in the habit now. You know what a good choice and bad choice is. Yeah.
Exactly.
And probably still make both because that's what I do. I know the good bad choice.
Gosh, yes. All the
and
time.
Sometimes I'm like, I know this is a bad choice, but it's happening.
I just ate Cinnamon Toast Crunch cereal for breakfast.
Oh my God. I love this cereal and I can't eat it. Yeah. Oh, I love cereal. Yep.
Me too.
Like I'll hit up, I'm a big fan of the old Lucky Charms and that's no good for you. And yeah, all the kid cereals, the real crappy
I like
ones.
Captain
Those are my
Crunch is my favorite.
Oh,
Apple Jacks and Captain Crunch.
Yep. And I'll go for the oops, all berries. I'll grab the one with all the berries from Captain Crunch. Oh, God. Okay. No. So listen, everybody listening out there, we're all in the same boat. We're all struggling. So let's just give each other some grace. It's all going to be fine. Yeah, it's all going to be good. Okay. So you got your health in order. Then what was next? What other changes did you make to start thriving a little more?
So the next thing that I had to tackle was my money problems, because I had been in charge of the money. And before I became an insurance agent, I was a CPA.
Mm-hmm.
So I had gotten ourselves into quite a financial mess for a variety of reasons. And if I went to discuss it with Gary, he would just, because of his depression and anxiety, he would shut down. He wouldn't speak. He would go into a depression. So I just kind of kept it to myself. And yet I needed to say to him, because he was doing the food shopping. And for a long time, we were very lucky that I didn't have to worry about how much money specifically he was spending.
Mm-hmm.
And he liked to go to different stores and buy, different things. And so I would try to say to him, could you watch the budget? Can you only spend this? And that's all it took to send him into a depression.
Oh, God, yeah.
So I didn't say anything anymore because I hated that. So, I was caught, and I knew that the real answer was to downsize with our home.
Okay. Yep.
And just when I brought that up, again, it was a nightmare. And I just
so you were stuck.
I just kind of, kept going until at a certain point I knew that I had dug a hole so deep. Mm-hmm. So I said to myself, okay, I have to take control of this. I have to take responsibility and stop making these excuses. If I do have to say something to him and this is what happens, so be it. But it was very hard. So I decided again that I was going to start small, taking control. And again, this is a while ago, so this wasn't as popular. I started selling my stuff on Facebook. My friends look in your closet. Do you ever use this pocketbook? This one, this one.
On Facebook Marketplace. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, and it started to be, first it was a hassle to me, but then it turned into something fun. And even if I sold something for $3 and I left the thing on the porch, right? And I come home and in this envelope is $3. I'm like, oh my gosh, I paid $3.
Listen,
it got to be a game and fun. And also realizing, look, so I would take the money and put it in another envelope, and I had enough money to pay for all our haircuts.
Yep. No, it's just the little things okay.
And so again, it was kind of like the same thing with the weight, just taking responsibility and stop feeling sorry for myself, because in both cases, that's what I had been doing. Why me? I had this victim mentality. Why did this happen to me? Why do I have to struggle with my weight? What did I ever do? All my friends, they are walking around in bikinis, when I'm a teenager, and I'm wearing the heaviest jeans at 100 degrees because I can't let anyone see my legs. Why is this happening to me? And then the same thing with the money issue. The money issue started stemming from a variety of things that had to do with my son's autism and nothing being covered and, whatever. It doesn't matter. But it made me feel sorry for myself. And what I realized at that point is that's not helping me. Everybody has their own journey, their own struggles, their own challenges. These are mine. And I have to figure out how to deal with them effectively, because I wasn't. So that kind of started a role of me thinking, okay, what next? Obviously I have two choices. I can make more money or I can spend less. The spend less, like I said, came with a lot of tough emotional things with Gary. So I'm like, okay, how can I make more money? I looked at the stuff with my insurance agency. What could I do there? But my heart wasn't there. So I thought, all right, I will get a side hustle. And at the time I was using this supplement, actually I still use it, and really loved it. And I was like, okay, it was a network marketing thing. I'll sell this. And I signed up for it and I did the little training. And at the same time, I had been listening to a woman on a podcast and for a long time, and I had taken like this mindset course of hers, and I just really enjoyed her. And she was talking about this mastermind. And I had no idea what a mastermind was.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I'm like, what the heck is she talking about? I think I had to Google it. And her mentor was launching a mastermind for people earning 0 to like 500,000. And I thought, this is perfect. I'm earning 0. I'll join this mastermind, whatever it is, and they'll tell me how to sell this product.
Yeah. Yep.
And I joined, and it was nothing like I expected. And I stepped into a world, an online world, I had no idea existed because I wasn't, I like posted pictures on Facebook and stuff, but I wasn't like.
You were with the younger crowd too, and they were more up on these things.
Oh my gosh. I felt like such an old lady.
No, we feel like we have to play catch up because it's like, what is all this stuff? Yeah. Because you and I, you're the same as me. We didn't have computers when we were young. Internet,
Exactly.
Google, nothing. No. Oh, yeah. Okay. So you had to catch up. Yep.
Oh my goodness, big time. And so I found out that all of them, or so many of them, had taken their life's struggles that they have overcome and turned that into a business of helping others who are in the same position.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, okay, that speaks to me more than selling this supplement.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's a whole story, but that launched me down a road, a very winding road to where I am now. And I want to say that was in 2020 or 2021.
Okay.
So let's just say, it's been 3 or 4 years since I've been on this journey, this entrepreneurial journey, which has taken me places I never imagined.
And that lined up probably when your husband, Gary, was getting pretty sick. Was he pretty physically sick and everything?
He was home. He was home by then.
Yeah. Okay. So you're still taking on so much. Debbie, you take on a lot all the time, don't you? You don't sit still.
No, I guess I don't sit still.
But you're fulfilled now. At least the things you're doing now, you feel more fulfilled with, right? I mean, because you're on this path that you're excited about now.
Exactly. Because that kind of morphed my first idea, and which is I still have, is for caregivers to learn the importance of self-care and that it's not selfish. Because I got to a point in my caregiving where I was like very, I don't want to say mean, but I felt burdened. I was resentful.
Yes, you were over it.
I was angry. Yeah. So I was snapping all the time, at everyone. And here I am supposed to be taking care of someone, and I'm being, I don't want to say mean, but.
No, but we all have our breaking point. Yeah. Because we're all like, okay. Yeah, we're overwhelmed and we're like, how did this happen to me? How did I get here? Yep. Oh, God. Okay. And so that started on your journey because you had started, I'm trying to remember, you started maybe like an online business. You had an online store, right? Yes.
Yep, it was.
And then you started this journey towards becoming an author.
Yep.
Yeah. And you kind of go over in your book, that you had every excuse in the world not to do it. Oh, right? Yes. You came up with, because we all do the excuses. And then finally, what made you say like, no, I'm going to write that book? Was there like one thing where you were like, nope, I'm going for it?
Well, when the idea had come up and people would, say, all the time, you should write a book, you should write a book. At that point, I had a business coach, and, I was kind of at a crossroads with the online business. And I said, well, if I am going to write a book, what is a ghostwriter? And how much do they cost? Because I am I don't write. How am I going to write an actual book?
Yeah.
And so I felt that way. I also felt like who's going to listen to my story, or who's going to want to hear my story? And so I had to kind of get past those things. So while I was in that phase, I was listening to a podcast, and there was a woman being interviewed who helped first-time authors get their story out there. And listening to her, I liked her. And I thought, this is meant to be. It was a podcast I don't listen to. Here, it was like she was speaking to me, through my car. I got in touch with her, and she was launching a course for first-time authors to write a book. And it was a 12-week course, and I was planning on doing it. And then it was at the same time that my husband then got diagnosed with the blood cancer. And at the time I was seeing a therapist, and I said to the therapist, I am embarrassed that I'm even still, there's a part of me who still wants to take this course, even though my husband is dying. Like, what's wrong with me? And she said, the therapist said, I disagree with you. This is the perfect time to do this because you're going to need something else just for you while you're going through this. And I said, but what if I can't, you would meet every week. What if I can't show up because of whatever's going on? Or what if there's homework and I can't do it? And she said, who cares?
Just
and
do the best
that was hard for me. I wanted to be the A student.
Oh, yeah. Oh, because you sound like you're an overachiever. Like you're not going to do something halfway. You're going to do it. If you decide you're going to do it.
But I got to say, when I started, so I signed up for the course, it took, I want to say almost half of it for me to actually think I might actually do this. When I signed up, I'm like, there's still no way. But let me see what this course is. You know? It's like getting the magic pill for weight loss. Maybe she's going to give me the magic answer and it's going to be easy.
She'll just easily tell me how to write a whole book. Yep.
Exactly. So once I kind of figured out a whole direction in this book and whatever, then it became a bit easier. But I did write it while Gary was dying. And there was a lot that happened in those 6 months. But I really started making sure that every day I wrote, and I would schedule in. I would get up at 5:30 in the morning, and I would write then before he woke up. Or if he was in the hospital, I would bring my computer to the hospital when he was sleeping or went down for a test. I wrote. And if he was home, sometimes in the afternoon when, there was nothing going on, I'd say to him, I'm going upstairs. Unless it's an emergency, don't bother me for an hour.
Yeah.
And I would write. And so I was very intentional because otherwise
you won't get it done.
There is no way it would happen.
No, you got to schedule those things.
Yeah. And when he died, I was 3 chapters shy of finishing.
Well, yeah. And did it feel like at that moment, like, okay, I have a little bit of an ending for the book, or I don't know. What did you feel at that moment? Like that the book felt almost done, or no?
It felt almost done because I had outlined the story. So I knew the stories I had left to write. And funny thing, during this process, I had in my mind, once I had an outline, so let's say I have 30 stories, 1 through 30. I had in my mind, I had to write them in order. I don't know why.
Yeah, I would think that too. But really, you could just, whatever you feel connected to write about that day, you should go to that story.
Exactly. So that gave me a lot of freedom. Like once I realized that, then the writing became easier. So I didn't necessarily have the last 3 stories to write. I don't know what I had left.
That's true.
So, yeah. So after, the funeral and everybody left, if you've ever lost someone, that's the hardest time.
Yep, because there's so much going on.
And everybody else goes back to their regular life.
Yeah, and you're left to deal with everything. Yep.
And it just, especially, losing a spouse is very different than losing a parent. So I decided at that point, that was December 30th that he passed away. My book was due to the editor January 14th.
Oh, Lord.
And they said to me, of course, we're going to extend the due date, whatever you want. And I decided, nope, writing this book really did help me. And I need structure now that everyone's gone. And here I am, a widow, not knowing how I'm going to move forward. I need to think about something else. And so I did finish it, and I did give it to them by January 14th. After it was edited partially edited about 3 months after he died, I added an epilogue about the day he died.
Yeah.
I wrote that 3 months later.
Okay. So you still stayed on schedule. And keeping in mind, everybody, she lost Gary, but you were still having to be a caregiver because you still have a son that needs more attention. Yeah.
Yep.
So you're still not done caregiving. You'll never be done caregiving at this point. It's just a matter of, for everybody out there, if you're having to caregive or whatever, you still have to make time for yourself, right? Because I feel like then at that point now you've learned I've got to do for myself. Okay. So you went through all that. So what inspired your new book? Because the new book all right, that goes through everything. And then this one, so she loves sprinkles, you guys, sprinkles. You'll see that in all of her stuff. And so that's why you call it the sprinkle effect. And would you say like each chapter is a different colored sprinkle and attached to that, you kind of tell a story that relates to whatever you're, and then, okay, just for an example, you've got a silver. I love the silver sprinkle because it was clarity and positive mindset, right? And then you go through and you give like a little story and then you give people practices they can kind of do, right? And then key takeaways and then activities. So it's almost like little lessons. You can go and you don't have to read the book first sprinkle to last sprinkle, right? You could just open it up and say, I need to learn this right now. So I'm going to do this chapter. So you can hop around in it. So I like that because you can kind of go to whatever lesson you feel like you need now, right?
And every day it's different, right? Like we all are struggling. Some of the sprinkles are like mindset, action, discipline, curiosity, joy, so you go to whatever you need that day.
And like with the silver sprinkle, in my mind, it goes back to the first book too, because it was like, I remember in your first book when you had said, after your 50th and that you started trying to love yoga. You didn't love it at first. You know what I mean? Like you tried the yoga.
Oh, yeah.
You started trying to meditate, be mindful, all of these things, right? That are part of the journey for you. And I love that because you talked about hot yoga. I'm in the same place and I'm so hot before it even starts that I'm like, how am I supposed to feel real zen right now? I'm already sweating. I don't like sweating. No, but so you went through to find what things really worked for you, right? How to move your body, how to start being mindful and meditation and journaling, which is a big part of this second book of yours because it gives you things you can journal about. You know what I mean? And homework. And is there a workbook? So it's the book is a workbook separate kind of thing?
There's a separate workbook. It's not required, but I find since my whole journey over the last decade, I found that with these exercises and activities in things, I never wanted to do that. That's a pain in the neck. I would be like, I would just read it, right? And I'd like, think about my answer. But what I found was when I was forced to do it.
Like homework. Like a book.
Homework. That's where the impact is. Like you could read my little story and you think that's great. Okay, I'm motivated and
do nothing with it. And then you do nothing with it. Yep.
You do nothing. So I found that like when I would do an exercise and I'm moving my head because if you could see what's around me, I have like all these different notebooks everywhere, right? Mm-hmm. So I would just pick up a notebook and answer it in this. And then the next time it's somewhere else. And I have no idea where anything is. So I like the idea of having one place. So you could either buy a blank notebook and just do it. But I made a separate workbook where the key takeaways are summarized, the colors are summarized, and it leaves you space for all the activities.
Yeah, because I have lots of journals too. Because I like to buy, this one's pretty. I like this one. Yeah. So I have a collection of journals that have like 2 pages written in it. And then I'm thinking, why did I buy another one? I started one. Nope. So I don't know how I condense it all into one, but same thing. Like I have lots of journals. Okay.
Exactly.
So it might be worth getting the workbook with the book then. You don't have to, like you said, if you're a disciplined person who can get your favorite journal out and work on it through that, then that's what you do. It all works out. And so what kind of led you to want to make the second book, to do this second step?
So, some people, when they read the first one, when I wrote the first one, I had to make a decision of what was the point of this. do I want to give people practical feedback? Do I want to give them activities?
Mm-hmm.
And I decided no. I just wanted to be inspirational. Some people would write it, and then at the end, they would say, oh, here's the lesson that I learned from this experience. But I decided not to do that. Mine is literally just the stories, and you take from it what you will,
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully be inspired by the end.
Yes.
And so I felt like people would say, but what did you do? How did you change? What happened after 50? What kinds of things did you do practically?
Yeah, because we want a manual. We want to know exactly what we're supposed to do to get where you're at. Yeah.
Exactly.
Like how'd you do it?
And I think that's the thing. That's what I'm trying to say. What I did and my answers aren't your answers. You have to find it for yourself. But I just wanted to introduce people to the concepts and the ideas, and then give them activities and journals.
I always say, like, you just pick and choose like what resonates with you, right? Yeah. Like I listen to lots of podcasts and read books and all that. And you know when like something resonates with you, like I should try that. That feels like what I should do too. And then other things you may read it and be like, yeah, it doesn't feel like that's going to help me. Like I'm not in the same place. Or not help me now. 5 years from now, that might be what you need to do. Right?
Yeah. Completely.
So that's how I love that you don't have to, the new book, you don't have to start with any particular chapter and work your way through it. You can just open it up and see which one pertains to what you need right now in your life. Right?
Exactly.
You need more courage. You need more joy. You're trying to figure out what your vision for your future is. You know, your life beyond all of this stuff we've had to be doing the whole time. So I love that. That's my favorite part. I'm already thinking like, which ones? Yeah. And so, yeah, it's all out. So you guys can, all the link, her links are in the show notes, all the things. Yeah. You can find her. And so were there any, if you had to think of one or two things that like really, really made the biggest difference in your life as you hit, like from 50 on, where you're like, all right, I want to finish this life a little bit stronger. I want to do more for me. You're still a caregiver. I think we're all always going to be a caregiver to some extent, right? And
Absolutely.
but what are there a couple things that really, really you're like, if you do nothing else, try this?
Yeah. So the biggest thing for me was taking responsibility, for sure.
Okay.
Because that really changed my mindset, and I wrote about it in the book, something that I read in The Success Principles by Jack Canfield and Janet Switzer was this formula, since I'm a math girl, that's E plus R equals O, which stands for event plus response equals outcome. And I was living my life E equals O. There was no response. Like, my father had a stroke, my life sucks. Whatever. I didn't realize that even though I can't control some of these events or challenges that come into my life, none of us can, I can still control how I respond to them.
Yes.
And that, on the one hand, you can look back and be like, oh crap, I'm where I am now because I made those decisions.
Yeah.
But I feel like instead it's empowering, because once I discovered that, it's like I have the power, regardless of what happens to me, to decide how to move forward.
Okay. So it's more our reaction to things.
It's our response to what's going on. It's how we choose.
There's always going to be something coming. We're not done. Like we hit midlife and we think, oh, I've been through so much. It's got to be over. It's not over. Like we all know something's coming. There's something always around the corner. So it's more about probably, would you say, being more mindful in the moment too? Like staying in your life right now and not worrying too much about what's coming next, right?
Yeah.
Or what's happened to you in the past.
And it's also about the other thing that I learned that was like shocking to me is that my thoughts aren't true. I don't know. I guess I never stopped to think about my thoughts. It's hard to say that and make sense.
No, but
it's just like I thought it and I never questioned it.
No, we all think we're right.
Yeah.
Right. Or like, well, I thought it and I'm usually right? We think I'm usually right. So I got to be right about this
But
thought.
think about all the times, at least me, like creating these traumas in your head or worrying about something that never is going to happen.
Yes. Yep.
Or, just that I had the power to change this whole narrative I'm telling myself.
Right.
And so that goes with being mindful, because I have to be mindful and stop some of these thoughts that are, ruling my life, and change them.
So did you find yourself then starting to, like, when the negativity would pop in your head, like, oh, my life sucks. Why did this all happen to me? Blah, blah, blah. So is there a method you went through, or did you just stop and try and reframe it? Or
I have to say, I mean, it's a journey.
Oh, you got to practice like everything else. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I can't say I started to, read books and take courses and do those things on mindset and stuff to really start to understand, because I had zero understanding.
Right.
And
it's all new to you. Yep.
All totally new to me. Meditation was another thing. I was like, meditation? Are you kidding me? I tried it for 2 minutes and I thought I was going to jump out of my skin. It was horrible. I hated it, but I stuck with it and I tried different, I guess, varieties. I don't know,
there's all different ways.
And I think that's the thing. So often we try one thing and then it's like, oh, this stinks. Just like yoga, even though I'm still not a big fan. But just because I don't like hot yoga doesn't mean I won't like gentle yoga or,
you just try different classes.
Restorative yoga.
Right.
There's a lot of flavors of all these things. And the same with journaling. Journaling and meditation, both those things have changed my life. They've changed my life.
Well, just meditating, just quieting yourself helps relax your whole fight or flight nervous system.
Yes.
And with everything you've got going on, and all of us out there have going on with caregiving and trying to lose weight and health problems, because they also all start popping up at this age too. All of a sudden you're like, oh my God, like, so I really got to go to buy a pill box. You know what I mean? It all hits you kind of hard. Like when I bought my first pill box, I was like, are you freaking kidding me?
I know.
I thought it was only old people that had pill boxes. And then I'm like, oh, wait, I'm old people. Like, wait, is this what's happening now? I don't like it.
I know.
Yeah. So no, you got to get over those little things, like whatever. If you need a pill box, you need a pill box, right?
Exactly.
It is what it is. Yep. We got to do whatever we're going to do. But yeah, the health stuff starts coming at us, and oh Lord, all the people are never going to leave us alone, right?
That's right.
Yeah. We're natural caregivers, but it sounds like you've learned to not let your plate get too full anymore. I mean, it's full, but when you fill it, it's with things that feed you and feed your soul and fill your cup, rather than just always feeling empty, empty, empty because you're giving to everybody else. Because self-care is not about the bubble bath. You know what I mean? It's just way deeper than that. Yeah.
Way deeper. Exactly.
Yeah. Do you find yourself saying no more often?
You must be reading my mind then. Yes, that is the best form of self-care that I am still working on, because I'm still a recovering people pleaser.
Yep.
If anybody asked me to do anything, like I would volunteer for anything, any social thing that someone invited me to, I would say yes, even though it was killing me. As a matter of fact, yesterday I was making an appointment for something. It was actually for my dog. That's the whole story. And I'm a caregiver to him too.
We're all caregivers to the animals. Yep.
Yeah. But I mean, he's got some illnesses.
Yeah.
So I was setting up an appointment and I made it. And I thought to myself, why am I doing this to myself? I made this appointment. It is going to make this day so much more stressful for me.
Yes. Overbooking our day.
Why am I doing this? And I called back and I changed it.
Yeah. You're like,
but it's something like that. I would never have looked at it like that. Like, just when I realized what I was doing to myself, it was unnecessary. So saying no, and I'm also really, really learning to say no to social things that I don't want to do. Because I've very often found myself at a party, at a dinner, at a something where I'm sitting there thinking, what the heck am I doing here?
Yeah,
This
like
is
I'd rather be
not where I
home in my
wanna be.
jammies. Yeah, I'd rather be home chilling in my pajamas. Yeah, and I'm at this stupid party. Yeah. So I think you're right. Probably the best self-care tip is like, don't worry about the bubble baths. Don't worry about the whatever. Like, start saying no to more things that don't feel like a yes. Yeah. We say a lot, like, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. Like, yeah. So if it doesn't light you up,
The phrase that I just actually heard recently again that crossed my mind is every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else.
yeah. And probably the no is just something else that you wanted to do for yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's time. We got to start clearing our path a little bit. We can't go down our own path if it's not cleared up a bit. Yeah. We got to protect our energy for ourselves and the people most important to us. Because I think if we fill our cup and we feel really good about our lives, like for you, it's easier to be a caregiver to your son. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, rather than feeling like, these people are just burdens to me. All of a sudden you're like, no. Like,
exactly.
Yeah. Which sounds terrible. But I mean, we get in those spots where we're thinking like, this is stupid. Why am I caring for these people? I want to care for myself. Yeah. Who's going to take care of me? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
God knows, not my sons. Jeez.
Oh God, no.
My son in college, I'm like, he texts me when he needs something. I don't speak to him. It's like a week and a half. I said, are you ever going to, like, can we talk? Do we have to be just texting? Like, that's all he does.
No, nobody
this
wants to talk
happened.
anymore.
Should I do this? He's asking me these questions, but it's like, Ben, come on.
Yeah, give me a phone call.
Face. I want to have a conversation. I'm
And
like, this is foreshadow of like things to come in the future.
Yeah. But are you also a little bit happy that he's experiencing college and life differently than you had to because you were caring for your father? So,
oh my God,
in a way, you're probably like, well, he's living the normal college life. I didn't get it because I couldn't do that. Yeah, but he can.
You know what? And besides that, I don't talk much about him, but God, I feel emotional. He's like my rock, and I feel like he's mini me. And I hate that because one, he had to deal with, we had to deal with a lot of tough times with the mental illness with my son when he was a teenager. And Ben, who's 21 months younger, found himself in the middle of really tough situations and, like ran out of the house to get away. And then he lost his father, you know what I mean? And now he worries, he's, has an anxious tendency and he feels like he's going to have to be his brother's caregiver. And so he's walking around with that burden. And so the fact that he has been able to go to college, and he's an introvert, so I didn't know how it was going to turn out. And he's a senior now. So, but he has had the most amazing experience, met just the best group of kids that I know will be his lifelong friends. Nothing makes me happier because he was not living the life for a long time that a teenager should. So I don't want him to walk in my footsteps, No. Yeah. He's got his own journey, his own plan. Yep. And he's leading it. And so that's like a whole episode in and of itself. You know what I mean? A child with autism or special needs. That's a whole thing. Because I have friends who have some of the same things going on. And it's just, you don't even get it if you're not in it. It's a lot. No.
It's a lot to handle. But doable. Yeah. Because you love him and he's teaching you lessons too. Life lessons you were meant to learn. So like it's, in the end, it's all really, really good. Yeah.
It is.
Oh, Debbie. Okay. Well, I'm loving, you guys got to check out both of these books. Okay. Read her first one. I feel like reading that gave me a lot of insight into then all of your sprinkles in the second book in the workbook, right? Because you have an understanding of where you got this knowledge from. And I think when we hear what others have been through, like what you've been through, even if you haven't been through all the things Debbie's been through, you've probably been through one of them. I'm just going to say there's something in there.
There's a lot of them.
Even if it's just the weight part, like anything, you know what I mean? Losing a loved one, you've got a special needs child.
Infertility, like you said.
Infertility was a huge struggle. I mean, that was a big struggle for you. And you suffered loss during that. You lost a baby girl during that. And so the fact that I think you're proof positive that we can come back out. We can hit this midlife spot, you guys. And it's not too late. You can, if you're thinking about writing the book, write the book. If you're thinking about starting a podcast, start your podcast. If you're thinking about a whole new career, just do it. Right?
Absolutely.
Get the logistics worked out, but it's never too late to start something new and learn new ideas and get rid of some of our old limiting beliefs, even if we got to go all the way back to frickin' childhood to start repairing things.
Yeah.
Repair them, girl. We can do this. And we can move forward. Yeah. So I think it's great because you really just hit your stride in life here after 50. Would you say? Yep. I feel like you did.
Oh, for sure. This is like my new life. It's just beginning. I have no idea where it's going to take me. And it's great.
You were just in survival mode, as a lot of us are. Okay. I spent most of my life in survival mode. So you're in survival mode, and then finally something happens, or you feel like, no, I don't want to survive. I got to get out there and thrive now. I gotta do some things for me. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. So everybody's more no's out there. We're ready. It's time for us to say no and not feel bad about it. Right? No,
exactly.
Because that person will go find someone else to help them. Right? They're going to be just fine without you. You could do your own things. And unless it's something that really you feel passionate about, then that's my yes. Yep. Exactly. I'll commit to that. Oh, Debbie. Okay. Well, this has been awesome. Thank you so, so, so much. I just love both of them. So when we're just, you guys, as you're listening, the book hasn't been released yet, but when you guys are listening right now, it's released. So go get that. Yay. I'm going to get it. I got to get my copy of the workbook. So I don't have the workbook. So I got a sneak peek at the new book before it got released so that we could talk about it today. But no, I'm excited to get the workbook because I'm one of those girls who if I have homework, I'm going to do it.
Exactly.
If the teacher said, do this and this, I should probably do it. Yeah. So that'll be good to get the workbook. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. I'm glad. It's funny. This morning I was thinking to myself, I need to really sit down and do the workbook.
Yeah. Work it through. You made the workbook. Now you got to just do the workbook. Yep. Yeah. Because we always need refreshers.
And even just like you said before, I might answer these questions one way today, but a year from now, it'll be different.
There'll be certain sprinkle effects in the book that you guys will identify with now, but then you might need the other sprinkles later.
Exactly.
Till you end up with all the sprinkles lined up, right? Because again, it's called the sprinkle effect, a guide to living a more colorful and fulfilling life, which is what we're all working on. That's all part of this journey. This is the midlife journey, you guys. Get a little bit more color in our lives. Yeah,
absolutely.
I love it. Well, thanks for being here today, Debbie. I'm so excited. So everybody check out all the links and all the things. There's so much more we could talk about. So someday you'll have to come back and give us some more tips on some more things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dive into some other parts of the books because I just picked kind of the big things that stood out for me and for us midlifers, but there's so much in there to relate with.
Thank you so much, Jen. I really appreciate it. This has been great.
Yes, this has been great. All right, you guys, check everything out at Debbie's, and we'll see you next time. Bye. Listen, I know your time is valuable, and right now I'm feeling super grateful and totally humbled that you chose to hang out with me today. If this podcast resonates with you, could you do me a solid and hit that subscribe or follow button? That's going to help you out because you're never going to miss an episode. And it helps me out because you're never going to miss an episode. And if you have 30 seconds more, could you leave a 5-star rating and maybe leave a kick-ass review? Thank you so much, and I can't wait to continue our journey on the next episode. Oh, and I can't forget the fine print. The legal jargon. This podcast is presented solely for educational and entertainment purposes. We're just two friends on this journey together, and this podcast is not intended as a substitute for the advice of a physician, professional coach, psychotherapist, or any other qualified professional. You get it. See you next time.